In Africa today, we see people who are dying to speak up because they are trying to cover up under the shadow of loyalty. And they think that if you talk about something that is wrong, if you talk to your boss about something he did wrong, then you're disloyal. And it's a cancer in Nigerians. And I noticed that it's not just Nigerian, but it's something that is amongst Africans. And don't know that actually we are living in a 21st century slavery. As workers, there's a way we should carry ourselves, not with pride, but with an understanding that this organization is functioning because of me. I am not a slave to anybody. I am to be loyal to somebody, but I am not a slave. As I said, it's a 21st century slave. People don't know that they are slaves. They claim they are being loyal, but automatically they position themselves as slaves. Hello guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. You're welcome back to my YouTube channel. In case this is your first time tuning in, I am Williams Evidence and I'm glad to be there. So basically in my YouTube channel, I do several things. Majorly is a reality podcast, which is a podcast I do. Is in faith-based podcast that will talk about Jesus Christ. I will talk about any other thing relating to the Christian community, to the church, and all of that. But this is not a reality podcast. This is a full aside that I'm doing. Why did it start? I didn't talk about it the previous time, but I want to talk about it now. Why did I start something like this? Because I know that it's not everything that can be captured within the walls of the podcast. I want to simply make the podcast a faith-based podcast, but also I want to share some things from my own perspective. There's some things I think are necessary and I really want to share them. I really want to communicate them because I might not be able to do that on the podcast, right? But I want to just do this like, weekly. The podcast drops weekly, so this also drops weekly, and I just share some things, right? Now I have two topics in mind today to talk about, but I think the Holy Spirit is leading to something else. Okay, but I want to talk about modern slavery. And please, when you listen, don't be so quick to point fingers. I suggest that you actually prepare your mind, open your mind actually to hear what I want to say. Don't be quick to rush to conclusions if you might not really understand. Right, so as that was 2 years ago, I got the privilege to work as Dufil Indomie Company Dufil at Choba, and productions of noodles are going on often and often. Now, the organization, the company is run by Indians, majorly Indians. You have a little of Indonesians there, but majorly Indians. In fact, 99% of the company is run by Indians and Indonesians. Then the workers, 99% of the workers are Nigerians. Now, I am showing this because I noticed a cancer in Nigerians, amongst black people, amongst Africans. And I noticed that's not just Nigerians, but it's something that is amongst Africans. And in a way, we are doing it even to ourselves. And we don't know that actually we are living in a 21st century slavery. Sometimes people think that loyalty is just doing everything your boss tells you to do. Now, I am not an advocate against loyalty. Anyone who knows me knows that I am a loyal person. I am someone who speaks about loyalty. I'm someone who is particulate about loyalty. I talk about it every time. But if you're not careful in trying to get into the game of loyalty, you become a slave. Now, why did I say this? In the company, I noticed that lots of persons try as much as possible to win the heart of their boss. Now, it's not bad to win the heart of their boss. I just noticed that there is something wrong somewhere. I mean, it was like a double standard life that probably the rule is given that this shouldn't be done. Right? But when a person steps out, when your boss steps out, there's just this another part of you that rushes to do what he or she says shouldn't be done. And I noticed that there's a contention among the Nigerians in the company that everybody is trying as much as possible to see who the boss will like. to see who the boss will give listening ears to. And because of that, now, I don't really want to go into details of the company and details of persons and the company, but sometimes you might see that the person that you're even, okay, let's first start from the American structure, right? The American structure, I would say they don't care about hierarchy, but they are particularly about individualism. And that's why in the American structure, if you see that your boss is making a mistake, he is the one that employed you. He is the one that is paying your salary, is paying your, your wages and all of that. He is your boss. He employed you in the American structure. But you can see that if the boss goes wrong in a particular thing, if the boss misses it somewhere, or if the boss does something that affects a worker, the worker can stand up to his boss and correct the boss and say, look, there is a way to do this thing. And say, this is what went wrong. You did this, you did this, and you point out certain things that you feel this thing that this person did is wrong. But in Africa today, we see people who are dying to speak up because they are trying to cover up under the shadow of loyalty. And they think that if you talk about something that is wrong, or if you talk to your boss about something he did wrong, if you talk to your boss about something that he failed at, then you're disloyal. But personally, I don't think that is disloyalty. First of all, how is the presentation of that subject? How did you present it to your boss? Right? I watched the movie Suits, and that movie actually shaped the way I think. It actually shaped the way I actually perceive things. I see how Mike Ross relates with Harvey Specter. Harvey Specter is Mike Ross's boss, but I see how he relates with Harvey Specter. Now, this is not an open check for you to be disrespectful. I am not publicizing disrespect here. I am just trying to say that there is a 21st century slavery that is hiding under the cover of loyalty. And most persons who think that they are being loyal to their boss, if you look at it critically, they are being slaves and not being loyal. They are positioning themselves as slaves to their boss. Because by every wind your boss tosses you to, there's something I've noticed about the African mentality. There's something that I've noticed about the African mentality, and it's actually a cancer. I start to be corrected. Who am I? What do I know? Who am I? What do I know? But it's a cancer actually, because in an average African organization, sometimes even in the church, they teach it. Most bosses, they think they are doing the people a favor by employing them. They think that they are doing human beings, or they are doing their workers a favor by employing them. And I was thinking about this noodles in the company I was working as, and I was like, if every worker decides today to submit a resignation letter to Indomie, automatically that company will fold up. But what we don't understand is that, what most workers don't understand is that they don't know that they are the surviving line of every organization they are working in. What bosses don't know is that they don't know that the workers that they are pointing fingers at, they are criticizing, they are at a greater risk of losing their company if those workers submit a resignation letter today. You have to go through the process of recruiting new persons into your system and training them into the policies of your system before they begin to operate in that level of, excellence that the previous workers were working before. But they don't understand this. And there's this thing about the Nigerian, because I'm in Nigeria, there's this thing about the Nigerian mentality, about the African mentality, that we think that, a person meeting you to say, oh, my boss, or sir, this is what you did wrong. This is what I think can be corrected in the organization. This is what I think you missed it somewhere here. Automatically, the person is starting looking at you as, what do you have that you can connect me? You know, one of the ways that, one of the things that shows that pride is creeping into your life is your inability to take correction. Because if you, let me give you an instance. Some years ago, this is a very long time ago, a very, very long time ago, I was at home. My cousins came to visit me. So there was this cousin of mine. He's way younger than me. As at then, was way younger. Even now, of course, he's way younger than me. So he came to visit. And then my elder brother was dressing chicken. So we saw that chicken and was dressing the chicken. And a conversation came up and all of that with my younger cousin who was around. And I made a statement. Now, this was a very long time ago. I was really young that time. I made a statement. I said that there's nothing that my little cousin can teach me. I know everything he knows. Talk about that. I said, I know everything he knows. That I cannot learn from him. There's nothing that he can actually teach me. And I was driving by that mindset. My elder brother told me, he was like, why didn't he say something like this? You know, there's something happened in the process of dressing the chicken. I was to talk about something as relating to the chicken. So the gallbladder of the chicken was there, and my brother was processing the gallbladder, like the liver, because that's where the gallbladder is, right? Was processing the liver, the intestines, etc., and all of that, right? So I was making a statement. I was referring to the gallbladder. You know, the gallbladder is quite green, and in the Nigerian mentality, if it bursts, it's going to make everything bitter. It's going to make the whole means bitter, right? So instead of saying this gallbladder, if it get burst, the whole means is going to get bad, I was like, this thing, if it gets burst, the whole means is going to get bad. I referred it to as a thing because I didn't know what the name was. So I said this thing. Immediately, my younger cousin said, that is the gallbladder. Kai. And it dawned on me that not everything. And now my elder brother said, can you see that not everything you know, or not everything that he knows that you know, and he can teach you. And it dawned on me that no matter the level of positioning you are in an organization, you can actually learn from everybody. You can actually, you know, as workers, there's a way we should carry ourselves, not with pride, but with an understanding that this organization is functioning because of me. I am not a slave to anybody. I am to be loyal to somebody, but I am not a slave. As I said, it's a 21st century slavery. People don't know that they are slaves. They claim they are being loyal, but automatically they position themselves as slaves. Now, this is how it works. When I was in that organization and lots of persons were acting this way, I came in less than 1 month of me working in the organization. I was like, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Like, what is happening here? Why are people behaving like this? Why are you trying to... God. I was like, what is going on? Something is wrong somewhere. And I noticed that, you know, I love Indians so much. I can't even talk like them. I haven't spoken like Indians in the public space before. Should I do it now? No, I'm not going to do it. Later on, another time. But I love Indians, so I looked at a culture, and I noticed that, you know, Americans, they practice individualism. They are concerned about my opinion, my thoughts, my voice. You get, that's what the American culture is concerned about. Then I noticed that the Asian culture, Asia as a whole, they are concerned about collectivism, how they can come together as a group to get things done together as a group. They are particulate about hierarchy in the lens of age. So you will notice that an Asian person really respects a person because he's older than him or than her. So the level of respect is not really because you are my boss, but because you are older than me. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't respect a boss that is younger than them. I hope I made that clear, right? But what I'm trying to say is that they respect people because they are really older and they work as groups. They are really concerned about collectivism, how they can come together to get this done. But the Nigerian mindset is concerned about hierarchy, power, class, position. That's what they're concerned about. And that's why most persons, instead of looking at how they can come together as group to get things done, they rather be in a position whereby they are higher than the other person. And you see other Nigerians being slaves to Nigerians. You see Nigerians being slaves to other Nigerians, all in the name of loyalty, trying to win the favor of their boss, which is not bad, but the motive and the point where you're coming from to win the favor is actually bad, because you're putting yourself in a place whereby you're looking down on yourself. I'm not trying to say be disrespectful. I'm not trying to say be arrogant, but I'm trying to say know your self-worth. Know who you are. Know who you are. Not everybody should toss you left and right. You're working in an organization, sure, they're paying you salary, sure, but if you don't do that job, if everybody decides to back off from that organization will not run. So see it as you're doing that organization a favor by being there. But one thing again as you put outside is that you must have this mindset, if and only if you are good at what you're doing. Because you cannot be doing a Rachel job and you not carry this mindset, I will fire you as a boss. Any person who you see that the boss is always looking out for and ensuring the person doesn't get fired and is begging if the person submits a resignation letter, check very well. That person is of high value to that company. Is of high value to that company. Don't hide under the wings of loyalty. Meanwhile, in a clearer view, you are being a slave. I'm not saying be arrogant, but I'm saying know who you are. Know who you are. I noticed that in the company, after a while, because of how Nigerians position themselves, there's one thing about, I think it is something that we haven't gotten over as blacks. I think it's something that, due to the fact that slavery happened a long time ago, I think that we haven't really evolved from that mindset of slavery. Why I'm saying this is that if a white person comes into a community of black person, you see how the black person is moving against the white person. And sometimes, not everybody, but you see how sometimes some people come around and they think. For example, if you see a white person come to Nigeria to be, and is on the street, you don't know whether that white person has money or not. Then a white person is in Nigeria doesn't mean he's a millionaire or billionaire. But automatically you see Nigerians, because they see a white person on the road, they see a white person in a car, they just think that, oh, this person is more privileged than I am. Who gave you that mindset? Who gave you that reason to even think like that? And because of that, they don't see how they can try to win the favor of that person. They see how they can try to win, the favor of that person. That was the same thing I was playing in the company. Everybody was trying, because these Indians, their skin color is white. Although we have Indians that are black, like their skin color is black. But these Indians, their skin color is white, most of them. But 85% of them, white skin color, then the remaining 50% were black skin color. But you don't see how Nigerians, they demoted themselves in order to win the favor of your boss. And you see commotion going on between Nigerians just because they want to win the favor of one person. Nigerians, they are particularly about position, particularly about hierarchy. And if a Nigerian gets above one other person in an organization, automatically you don't think that you're more privileged. You think that the other person is not privileged. Immediately you start saying the person, why are you talking to me like that? Why are you Why will he address me like that? Because so if you were just given that position, who were you? So this is me trying to share my mind about this topic, because I think it's something that needs to be spoken about, and it happens to me in the church. I'm very careful when it comes to talking about the body of Christ, because I am a firm believer. I am a very firm believer. But it happens in the church. It happens in the church. If you are a boss, try as much as possible not to be so full of yourself that nobody in your organization can point out your flaw. The moment the people you're leading cannot point out your flaw, there's an accumulation of failure that is being piled up, and very soon the crash will be very loud. As a leader, be open to rebuke. As a leader, be open to correction. People will see flaws in you, and people will point out those flaws in you. As a follower, draw the line between loyalty and mental slavery, because in trying to be loyal, you don't know that you're becoming a slave. This is a little thing I want to talk about. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Thank you very much for joining me in this week. I don't know what again title this session. Isn't William Speaks or Coffee? I don't know. But thank you very much. And please do well to like, to comment, to share. Do well to share this to somebody you feel, or drop your opinion about this, because I know listening to this, you have opinions to say, you have things to say. Drop it in the comment section. Let's hear from you. Let's hear what you have to say. Thank you very much for joining, and I'm going to see you next week.